XCN losing support. This is NC Hammer Crypto. My name's Neil, where we keep technical analysis short and sweet. And I say that about XCN. I'm actually starting with it first because according to data analytics and YouTube, right when we are at this point, XCN is being talked about, and that is where the retention for the people who watch the videos kind of shoot to in the video. That's why I've been putting it later in, which I'm actually going to talk about XCN later because you guys really need to see the opportunities that are presented with other tokens. Even if you are fully invested into XCN, there's once you start taking out profits, there's going to be some other coins that you can toss money into, and it's good to have information on what those coins might be. So like BNT, while like QNT is in consolidation, XCN's in consolidation, you could have had an entry back here in April and just had a consistent profit for the long term. We are clearly in a downward channel with BNT. We had that double top play out, and the CM Guppy is starting to push this down. I believe we may see a potential lower low off this 200 EMA, but it's debatable. This one's been holding up pretty strong. It could just be a whip curve right back up towards this downward trend line, and a breaking of that structure is going to send BNT off up to a potential $1 or $1.31 from 85 cents, but it definitely has a very long way to go to be hitting its top. I believe its all-time high is $20. So we are less than $1 right now. That's well over 20x your money for putting a little bit aside into something like BNT. Going over to QNT. QNT broke our structure that we had placed out here, but it is building some support off that 200 EMA. I removed this last time. It keeps coming back. My charts are all messed up, but we could readjust this line saying this is the support for the upward trend line. We may not see that lower low of $88, but I believe Bitcoin, I usually start with Bitcoin, and so that is usually the determining factor of what is going to be happening. And we saw that had that push up like we saw in these orange candles. I believe we may see a little bit lower low before ultimately we get a bunch of buyers within this area and push it back up to the previous all-time high. So with that being said, checking out CTSI real quick. Not a whole bunch to go off of, but it's looking like it is trying to break this 200 EMA. It already broke its downward trend line, and we've actually seen that in Tornado Cash. A strong consolidation period building upwards. It is only 7 cents right now, but its all-time high is around $1.16. So pretty massive potential gains off of CTSI. If you take a little bit and put it into this, it's not a bad bet as there's high volume. The RSI is right at the 50, and all we need to get above is that 200 EMA, and this thing has a tendency to take off once it gets above that 200 EMA. Spell. Bringing in Spell, and it is holding support on this upward trend line. Still has some pressure off that CM Guppy. You could see some rapid movements to test this 200 EMA yet again, but ultimately we need to break this downward trend line and get over that 200 EMA. IOTX, major pullback, did not hold support on that upward trend line, and we had that push down. So that line is now irrelevant. We could assume that this is the area that we are working within. If we build an upward trend line for IOTX, we can see if we can hold support off of that trend line. However, it did retrace right down to the 0.786 on the Fibonacci before pulling back up and seeing this as support. So we're just keeping an eye on IOTX. Tornado Cash. XCN. Here, I'll put XCN so you guys think that in the video I'm talking about XCN, and you can just kind of go off the area, but I'm actually going to be talking about Tornado Cash. It is the only coin in my portfolio that is up within the past 7 days, because everything is very, very bullish for Tornado Cash. It's got this strong support here at $11. The The 200 EMA nice and close. You don't want any strong rapid movements, but I believe it may happen if we close above this previous high. There's not a whole bunch of resistance within this area to make it up to around $24 to $26. So Tornado Cash has been a great play. It still is. We had our entry, if you're in my trading signal channel, at $7, I believe 52 cents. And it's been bullish ever since. You can trade Tornado Cash on MEXC. References in the description below. But as you can see, if we can close above this previous high right here, then it's off to the races for Tornado Cash. Don't miss out on that opportunity. I'm actually bringing up XCN this time for real because people are probably getting annoyed with the back and forth. But XCN, I still believe with Bitcoin's potential to push down that we might see that liquidation of a lot of people who have sell-offs within this area. And we actually have more buyers than sellers, I believe, right around here, around 0.008. So those of you that are trapped within XCN, don't worry about it. It's a liquidity grab for this area. And then once we break past that point, a lot of people are going to be freaking out. However, we have seen that in XRP, another liquidity sweep, pulling out all of those sell stops that are down here and whipping back up real quick with a bunch of buys and taking off. However, we are starting to get exhausted. If we flip this inverted, I still believe that this double top will play out and we'll start getting a push down. And this is in the daily, so typically on like a double top we see right here, flipping this back, we could see that we had this double top right here and the push down, but with that double top we had a major spike, this entire area. So all this 14% down right before ripping back towards the downside another 30%. So this is a potential thing that could be happening with XCN where we have some kind of rip down, grab liquidity, and a push down from this area is about 22%. Why not people have buying bags right here. They will snag a bunch of opportunities and money within this area, and then we'll start pushing right back up towards this downward red trend line. And once we break that, we can start seeing more momentum upwards. But ultimately, we need to break that downward red trend line. Compound in consolidation, holding strong support on this upward trend line. We just need a little bit of volume to push it over that 200 EMA, and everything will start looking a little bit better for Compound. But if you have not entered, now is a great opportunity to. I didn't cover QNT fully, but I believe we are going to start getting some support pushing back up towards this upward trend line. If Bitcoin pulls down, we might see a little bit further drop, but the 200 EMA is going to pull that right back up and beyond. This downward trend line is it could be anywhere really. Essentially that. We need to be breaking that trend line to start seeing some more movement to the upside. But I believe by the end of the year, actually in the next couple months, we're going to be well up around 210. So keeping that in mind, that's double money. And while that's double money, there are other things out there that can make a lot more. But also QNT can be reaching up to 1,000, potentially 1,500. Flare is one I'm bringing up. And this has a lot of movement. So we can see this chart that 0.05 was its high. We are at 0.02. But Flare, I actually want to bring up some information. CEO discusses XRP staking. And if you're interested in XRP, Flare is a great opportunity to start getting in because Flare is working with Uphold, which is, if you don't know, it's another company that is for market trading, and they are dealing with Flare and XRP. Staking is where you put your coins to work, and you can earn anywhere from 5 to a ridiculous amount, like farming or new coins. Some give like 43% APY. Anyways, Flare is just something to keep an eye on. Aerodrome is something that is happening very similar to the movements of Flare. We see a push up. We could actually retrace this downward trend line to here. And we are starting to see some support within this area for flares. We can start seeing that movement upwards here soon. Aerodrome tested support off that downward trend line. And if we can break this downward trend line, we are looking for a higher high for Aerodrome. Busting through these just because I know people just watch for XCN. It's sad. It's very sad. But Dogecoin holding support right off the 200 EMA, holding support off that 21 cents. This is the best area for an entry, as a lot of buyers are within the 21 cent area. So Dogecoin, if you haven't entered, that's a very good opportunity, as this is very, very strong support. However, with Bitcoin's pullback, you could see a better opportunity within a little bit lower, but it will push right back over that 21 cents if it does push down, and hold support off of that, and start moving upwards, obviously. Something else. Let's throw in BCH. So BCH, Bitcoin Cash. This is my TA on BCH, and we see that it had a very strong high, 1,400, and prior to that, it was, prior to that, it was way up here at 4,500. We had this other blip right here at 1,500, and now we are holding support, trying to hold support over the 200 EMA. It's actually looking very bullish. We see that it broke this green downward trend line. It is holding above that 200 EMA, and we need to break above this 627 for that next push up, as that is kind of where this previous high was at. We may get a little bit of resistance here at 729, and with that 729 or 718, the next stop is actually way up here at 1,625. Pretty big price increase for BCH from where it is at. Ultimately, it needs to be breaking this 718 to get that next move up, but there's not a whole bunch of resistance within this area. You could also even do the Fibonacci from the top to the bottom. Let me zoom out real quick. Fibonacci, top to the absolute bottom, and 618 is right here at 1,049. So you may get a little resistance at 1,049, a pullback, consolidation within this area, maybe even a potential test back off this 722 before pushing up to 1603. But beyond 1603, the next potential resistance, not very much, would be 1,830, and beyond that, looking roughly at the 618, which is 2,883 or 2,955. Those are kind of the areas that you want to keep in mind for BCH, but it's actually looking very bullish. It looks very similar to Tornado Cash when it is breaking that downward trend line, long consolidation period, holding support over the 200 EMA, building more and more support, trying to build higher highs, and moving over to BCH, similar thing, needs to build a higher high than this, building a long consolidation period, broke downward trend line, very, very similar to Tornado Cash. Highly recommended Tornado Cash, as 600 to 2,099 more or less is about 377%. When you compare that to Tornado Cash with its all-time high, or I guess let's do its middle. Let's go to here because Tornado Cash is 459 for its all-time high. So 300 is about $56, I believe. That's just the beginning of this cup and handle pattern. And so you could get the same percentage of increase on Tornado Cash as you could BCH, but the all-time high is way, way higher. It's all the way up here at 3,558%. Comparing that to BCH, what is BCH? I think it was 6,000 or something. It's 1,000%, so 20 times more your money investing into investing into Tornado Cash rather than BCH. That is the risk reward potential opportunity. And Tornado Cash can actually wash your BCH, so it's anonymous. It's just something to keep in mind. You can trade Tornado Cash on MEXC. There's a reference link in the description below if you didn't see that earlier in this video. But there's your kind of confirmation on BCH. I'll do the XRP and stuff on another one. I can also show you guys that data analytics will show that 37 people watched the other video and 184 watched the XCN video. And 20% or 20 of those people for this video were most likely bots. So with that being said, that's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you want. Good luck, have fun with it, and I will see you on the next one.